Hi guys, welcome back to Pink Code, and in this Java tutorial we're going to be preparing for AP Comp Sci, but first stop, please subscribe if you're looking forward to more videos. So in this tutorial we're going to be going over what you should be knowing before you take the AP Comp Sci class, not test, and I'll try to do a crash course in 15 minutes. And this is definitely no guarantee that, obviously every teacher requires a different amount of knowledge that they expect you to be coming into the class with, but this is just what, in my opinion, you should know so far. And also, this is kind of like the video for if you have 1 week left before taking the AP Comp Sci class like me and you've been procrastinating. So just the one place to be. First off, I'll just give you some quick resources to go into further information. So first is a free Udemy course called Decoding AP Computer Science A by a high schooler, and then you can do the free trial on Treehouse. That's always a smart idea. And Diato is not free, but it's really helpful, and it's on Safari.com. And then there's Code Academy, and I don't think that's free either, but that's also helpful. And then a free version is the New Boston. It's a YouTube channel, and check it out, and it's really cool, and it's very easy to digest and learn. And then, of course, there's always my YouTube videos, and check out my Java tutorials playlist. So AP Computer Science is based on Java, but you do not need to know all of Java because it is so long. So there's only a certain subset of what they'll be testing, and you can go to this link or just type Java subset, and you'll come up with this. And this basically tells you how much and what extent of Java you need to know. And just on the right is what you don't need to know, and left is what you need to know. So let's go ahead and start our timer and see if I can do this in 15 minutes. Okay, so first you need to know the different types of comments, and you don't need to know JavaDoc. Okay, so I have Eclipse open. Please watch my Java tutorial number 1 to know how to download the IDE and JDK, and also how to start your program. But so the single line comments, that will just go a span of 1 line. It starts with 2 forward slashes. The multi-line comment starts with a forward slash, an asterisk, and ends with the same. And the JavaDoc comment, which will basically, all the comments that you write, they will be streamed to a HTML page, and you don't need to know that for the AP test, but that's just some overview. It goes with a forward slash and then 2 asterisks, and then an asterisk for every line that you write in. And then it ends with an asterisk and a forward slash, just like the multi-line comment. And comments will not be read by the compiler, and the compiler will just skip over them, so they're just for us humans to look at. Okay, now we have the primitive types. So primitive types are data types. There's non-primitive and primitive types. And please remember that in Java, you have, before defining any variable, you have to give it a data type. And basically, this tells you what type of variable it is, either if it's a number, or if it's word or phrase, which would be a string, or if it's Boolean. So the numbers are basically divided into 2 categories, either integers or decimals, which are known as floating points in Java. And the 2 types of floating points are floats, which are smaller decimals, and doubles, which are bigger decimals with more digits. And then for our integers, we have byte, short, int, and long in that order. And int is what we mainly use in our programs. And then we have Boolean for true or false. And the default value for Boolean is false. And for any number, the default value is 0. And so just remember, like, int x is equal to 1, and you can remember you cannot define it as 1.5, and you get error if you do that because an integer cannot have decimal places. But if you define it as a double, you'd get 1. You can do that and do whatever you want. And please watch my other Java tutorials to get more information on that. And then it says you also need to know the operators. So just like math, we have the plus, minus, multiplication, division, and this you probably don't know, it's called the modulus sign, and basically it finds the remainder. So if we did 5% sign on top, percent sign 2, and then we system out that prints the sum or the results of 5 modulus 2, we basically get the remainder, so we get 1. And then we go, so we have the increment and decrement. Okay, so that basically, if we did I plus plus, that basically means add 1 to I every time, and that's the same thing as saying I plus 1 is equal to the new value of I, and you could also do I minus minus, and that basically decrements it by 1 every time, and I minus 1 is equal to the new value of I. And you can also, if you want to increment by a value other than 1, you just have to do I plus equals, and then whatever the value you'd like to decrement it by like 6 or 2, or same with I minus equals, and that's just basically saying the new value of I is equal to the old value of I plus 6 or minus 6. So remember, so plus minus or plus equals or minus equals. Okay, and then you need to know the assignment operator, which is equal to, and you assign a value. And then you also need to know this, and this equals basically is you're asking a question and you're not assigning a value. So this would be used in if-then statement, for example, like if age equals 16, then system.out.println you are almost an adult, or something like that. So this, make sure you don't use equal sign when you should be using equals, because then you'd be assigning a value instead of checking and asking a question. And then the exclamation mark basically means preventing, basically means not. And then we have the inequality operators as well. And then we also have the logical and logical or. So in the first older versions of Java, we just had one and symbol and one or symbol. And basically, if it's and, then it has to check to make sure both conditions are true. And if it's or, just one condition has to be true. And basically, with and in the newer versions, they had nothing else to do, so they just have to have two ands. It's called the short circuit and the short circuit logical or. And basically, for and, it has to check to make sure both are true. But if you have and, if it sees that the first one is false, it'll automatically just mark the same as false, and doesn't even have to, it doesn't care what the second value is, because automatically one of them is false, so it doesn't even need to check the second one. And then remember, for string concatenation, to add values in a string, all you do is just system.out.println, and then you just say, let's say for example hello, and then you just do a plus sign, and then say if you had a variable called name, and then you can do that. Okay, what's next? We have so I think the escape sequence are a little too much advanced for now, and this is what you need to know for the AP test. So that's like at the end of the year. So I'm just going over what you should know, like getting into the class. So you definitely do not need to know everything getting into the class. So for escape sequences, it's basically just in general a way to, for example, if you want to have a quotation mark in your system.out.println, what it prints out, you need to use this backslash, because usually just quotation marks are used to print in what's only in the quotation marks. And then we learned about the input and output for system.out.print, and then ln adds it to another line. And you don't need to know scanners, but it's always helpful. And then exceptions will basically be shown when you have a problem either in your code, or you can add exceptions in case to be ready in case a user inserts something wrong. For example, if you ask for a number and they put a letter. So the arithmetic exception comes when you try to get a value that's undefined, for example, a number divided by 0. And no point exception, like I told you, numbers, the default value is 0 unless you assign them to anything, and the default value for Boolean is false, and the default value for a string is null. So when you try to system.out, say you just define string x is equal to, and you don't say anything, so you just end it as string x, semicolon, and you use system.out.println x, is you're going to get a null pointer exception because it's null. And you get array index out of bounds. So array is basically a list of numbers or any other type of data type, and if you try to access a more than how many elements you have in the index, for example, you have say you have 3 values index, and you try to get the 5th value, then you're going to get that. And then we also have arrays. We're just going to do one-dimensional arrays, once again, just for the beginning of the class, just the basic stuff. So to do one-dimensional arrays, to define it, you do the data type, and then you put square brackets. So it can be n data type, it can also be strings, and then you put the array name equals new data type, and then you put the brackets again. And in here you can also in here in the square brackets you have to put how many elements you like. And you can also just end it right here if you want, and put semicolon and not include this if you want to add this later on. And you can also put a variable in this. For example, if you want to write a program where they enter the name and then you store that as variable, and then you write this variable here. And to call this value, all you have to do is type the name of the array equals, or to set these values, you just do that. And then to set a value, you just do array name, square brackets. Say you want to say the second value equal to that. And then you put the number that you want, like 3. And to call it, you just say array and then put the square brackets and 2. And also remember that the first value in an array is actually called 0. And for double arrays, I'm not going to be showing you that because that's more advanced. But just know that a double array is actually an array within an array for two-dimensional, sorry. And also rows come first always in the notation before columns. And then the control statements, we have the if else, while, for. Okay, so if then statements. Basically, in the parentheses, you write the condition that you want to be met, and then in the curly brackets, you put what you'd like to happen if this condition is met. And if you add, okay, so basically, if you don't have else ifs and you just have an else will catch everything when this continuously is not true in the parentheses. But if you add else if, it will add more conditions to check if the first isn't true. And then a while loop is basically the same as a if-then loop, but it will allow you to basically do a loop. Like if then is a conditional statement, but a while loop will allow you to like repeat something as long as this is true. So right here, and have another example coming up later. But once again, in the parentheses, you put the condition, and then if that condition is true, you put what you'd like to perform in the curly brackets. And then the for loop is, I think, allows you to add a lot of customization. And for the for loop, once again, it's a loop, so allow you to repeat things as long as true, but much more controlled than a while loop. And the first value that you'd like it to start at, you put first, and then what you'd like it to go up to or end at, you put here, and then the increment you put here. So add 1 every time, or whatever you want, plus equals true or something. And then once again, parentheses, and then curly bracket will have what you would like to do if the for statement continuously is true. And also, what was I saying? For example, if you put this would actually print all the numbers from 1 to 10 if you did system.out.println I in the curly brackets. And then we have not much time left. Okay. Also, so remember, you have to put a data type for your variables, and local variables are only true for the scope of the method, and they also have visibility modifiers. And a static variable is true for the entire class, so you just have to put static before defining the variable, and it'll be true for the entire class rather than just local. And then an instance variable is true for the entire object. So now, what is an object? So let me give you an example. For example, if I want to make a program on your school, and I wanted to write everyone's ID number, I had a method for everyone's ID number, and I had another method for everyone's grade point average, then each student would be an object, and the class would be a blueprint for them. So each student would have an instance variable of the GPA and instance variable of the ID. So basically, there's a separate copy of each instance variable for each object we have. And most likely, the object would be the kid's name For example, and to initiate an object, all you have to do is you put the name of the class, you put the object name, whatever you like to do. For example, in that example, you'd probably put the student's name is equal to new, and then the name of the class again, and then 2 parentheses. And then we have, if a variable is final, it can no longer change the value of it. So if you try to do, like, you said final I is equal to 6, and then you did I plus 3 is equal to I, you'd get a error because it's final, so it can no longer be changed. And then for methods, a method is overloaded if you have more than one method with the same name performing different functions. So for example, an overloaded method is usually when you have a method that one takes an integer as a parameter and the other takes in like a string as a parameter or something. And basically you do that like if you're not sure if the user will type in a word or a number. And then overriding is basically, so in Java we have parent classes and child classes for inheritance. And so basically, for an example, if the parent class was shape, the child class would be all the different types of shapes. For example, we'd have one child class for circles, another child class for squares, and all the child classes would share the properties of the parent class, but not the other way around. So basically, the child class can access everything of the parent class, but the parent class cannot access the methods of the child class. And also, so basically overriding means if you have 2 statements that override, one written in the parent class and one written in the child class, the statement written in the child class will override and be true for the rest of the program. And basically sorry guys, I had the fire alarm ringing. So basically to write the parent class in the child class, you write extends and then you write the name of the parent class, and then it'll automatically be able to access the methods of the parent class and have those properties. And it's also important to remember that every class in Java is inherently extends to the parent class called the object class. So that means that every class already has some inherent properties from the object class. And then let me show you how to pass parameters real quick. So for example, if we had a method called chirps, and then this is the parameters. So here is what you'd like to take in, and here is what you'd like to return. And if you don't want to return anything, you write void. So this is what you'd like to take in. And then, for example, here I did while the number of chirps is greater than 0, system.out.println tweet, and the decrement by 1 every time until there's no more tweets left. And basically, here you take in the parameter, and basically if you want to call this method, you basically do that in the main method usually. And then to do that, you have to make an object of the class, and to do that, you remember to do the class name, object name is equal to new class name, parentheses, and then to call the method, all you do is you put the name of the object, dot, and then you call the method. So our method was chirps, so you write chirps, and then into parentheses you would put the parameter. And usually, like right now it might not come, but it will it will show up a little box that'll tell you like number of chirps so you know what to enter. And for example, that's why I just submitted a parameter, and if I run that, I'll get it to say tweet 3 times. And not every class has to have a main method, but the main method is where you launch your program and start it, and that's usually where your class calls other programs. And it's kind of like if you use Scratch, it's kind of like the flag in Scratch where everything starts from. And then constructors. So basically, for a constructor, to call a constructor, you just write public, and constructors are usually public and they don't return anything. And then you write the name of the class, and then in parentheses you put what you'd like to. Here, let me show you. So you'd write So for example, we write public, and then you put the name of the class, and my class name is AP Comp Sci, and then you put some parentheses, and then in here you would write the variables that you want. For example, int ID, and then int GPA, and then you define those variables. So int ID. You basically you have to, if you want, because this is with objects, with instance variables, you have to use a this to define the static variable as now a local variable. So each object will have a copy of this instance variable. So write int ID equals int ID, and this dot GPA equals int GPA, and then basically with our new, and then you'd have to write set and get, and basically to do that you use a refactor and you make a set and get method, and those are accessor methods. Basically for the set method you just repeat this thing, this dot ID equals int ID, and for the get method you'd have to write a return statement afterwards, so to return the value. And with the set method you can set a new value for it, and the get method will just display it. And then all you have to do after that is in the main method in another class you'd write you initialize a new object, and then in the parentheses, like we had the parentheses right here, you'd actually put in the stuff for the constructor. Like say the ID of the student was 567 and their GPA was a 4, then you just put those into there and it would automatically store those values for them. And then what else is there? So we talked about that. Okay, remember for packages, for the import declaration, that goes between the package declaration and the class declaration. So for example, if you want to import pre-made libraries already in the Java API, for example scanner, you put them between package and class declaration. And then we have the miscellaneous things. So remember null is the default value of a string. This is used for instance variables. And then is a relationship is used to describe child and parent classes. For example, a square is a shape, and has a relationship is just used to describe corresponding classes. For example, the employee class has an ID or has a salary. And then yeah, that's basically, and you have some more lists here. And okay guys, I had to my screen recorder stopped working, and then it didn't record the sound, and then I had a little fire detector fiasco, so I actually had to record this video 4 times. So please subscribe and please like the video and comment below if you have any questions, or if you like any more video suggestions for me to do. And also please comment below if you have a project that you'd like to share with me. So please subscribe. Thank you so much guys.